Hi everyone, I decided to play something refreshing for a change, so bringing to you here, NBN. Boo! Well, don't worry, firstly, the ID that I'm playing is not NEH, also known as Never Ending Hell. This is NBN making news, good old school trace-based NBN. And with that, we have some very interesting stuff we can use. Now, first and foremost, this is not a fast advanced deck. Even though you see that I'm playing extra scripts and NAPDs, this does not have your standard NBN agenda suite. I'm playing a Glacier NBN. Yep, Glacier in the yellow faction. That's very questionable. So I'm using 3 pointers instead of breaking news and view. Why NBN Glacier? Well, firstly, I'm trying to solve the problem of playing NBN in a post-clock world where fast advance is no longer you can no longer make fast advance the primary route to victory. So I think in the new world of Sense and Cycle, there are 2 ways to win NBN. Either you abuse tags with psychographics or Scorched Earth or DRT, or the other way is you play pure Glacier and try to abuse the fact that your faction has so many ways to tag the runner, and close accounts is a very good way to blow open scoring windows for you to pump out agendas during. So I start the game with a horrible hand. Celebrity Gift is good. I started with a good hand, but it turned bad very quickly as I drew into lots of agendas, including an Astro Script. So he runs my server, and there's nothing much I can do about it here. I haven't drawn my second piece of ice yet, so I have to concede the first NAPD. Thankfully, it's an NAPD, so that is something I really don't want to score against Valencia. Yes, Valencia is an absolute nightmare to play against. This is a horrible, horrible matchup. I really don't want to be playing Glacier deck against Valencia, but, well, we'll see what I can do about it. The thing with Valencia is that she really ruins the notion of scoring in a remote server, and the bad part basically wrecks the very fact that I try to include NAPD in my deck. So yeah, this is a very hard counter, and I'm going to pay for it, pay a hefty price for it. So the status of the game is as such. He knows there's a toll booth on my R&D, and I know that he's trying to get his Parasite onto my toll booth. So here I choose not to allow him to liberate his Parasite. I'll let him go through, and I'll let him see 1 card. Chances of him seeing an agenda is not that high because I've already drawn 3 agendas. So yeah, because I'm running only 9 agendas in this deck, the chances of him hitting an agenda shouldn't be too high. Now the good news is that I found both of my red herrings pretty early on. Red herrings allows me to score much more easily in a remote server, especially since he's not that rich. Hopefully I can bait him to use 1 or 2 of his blackmails. That would be really awesome. Then I can actually start scoring my agendas in that remote. In the meantime, he does try to go for my toll booth again, and I finally decide to res it, because if I'm not going to res it, well, he's just going to go out of hand running my R&D. So he does get a Parasite on my toll booth and avoids the toll because of that. He manages to spend all his money on Personal Workshop, which means that he won't take the toll. He runs 3rd click of my HQ, booyah. That's the track. I res my Ichi, and yes, it was quite deliberate. I ended my turn last turn with 13 credits exactly, so I could res the Ichi. So now he can't do anything about it. I managed to get a program trash off. Here I choose Corroder because I don't have any sentries that are in Mimic range that are relevant. I do play Troll, but Troll has no subroutines. So the best thing about Ichi, it's such a good piece of ice. With Data Sucker being a dead card nowadays, because there are so many Data Sucker counters around. Counters being anti-Data Sucker tag like Lotus Field, like Cyberdeck's Virus Suite. Less and less people are playing Data Sucker, which means that Ichi becomes so much better when not everyone's playing Mimic Data Sucker. So yeah, not that many runners are prepared to deal with a 4-strength sentry with 3 subroutines. And the best thing is that when you play NBN, the 3rd subroutine actually becomes really relevant. I traced him for 3 credits just now, and he had to pay 2 credits from his credit pool to beat the trace. Otherwise, he'll take a tag and a brain damage, which is really bad for him. So here I click for credits, and I'm thinking of what to do with my last action. There's nothing I want to do. I don't want to get rid of any of the cards in my hand, so I simply install a new piece of ice on R&D, knowing that R&D will become vulnerable once the parasite takes down. I could purge virus counters, but that would really cost me a lot of time, and I need to rush against Valencia. Going late game is not a good idea, especially when he's getting a medium setup. Now, I do manage to force... he does run my remote, which is a shame, because he took advantage of my low credit window to run my remote, knowing that I cannot rest the ice, so he was able to trash my red herrings, which was a huge pity. So here I show him my hand containing an astro script and a red herrings, and I dared him to run my remote, which might contain an astro script. And indeed that worked. I finally managed to bait out his blackmail, so he does get the blackmail off and will trash my last red herrings, but that's fine. Now that he has one less blackmail, I should be able to safely score my astro script now. And if he has another copy of blackmail, so be it. Yeah. So I do double ice up the remote in case he gets his knight off. That is definitely a viable line of play for him, and my ice generally don't have too many subroutines here. So knight basically destroys my deck. Here's a problem. I tried to play Sweet and I realized he was keeping his hand size low. Very, very tactical decision that is going to pay off very well. So my Sweets are basically dead cards at this point. But I'm going to attempt to score an astro script, and it will be successful bar any the second black copy of blackmail. You have to take this kind of risk against Valencia. You know that she has a 50 card deck and she isn't drawing too many cards. You have to go for it. Sure enough, he does run it without a blackmail. I first rest the pop-up window to bait his parasite. And sure enough, he gets rid of my pop-up. And he continues on. I rest the Bastion to keep him out. So personal workshop in Valencia is really, really annoying. But I'll just say he got lucky that he saw it so early on. I wouldn't include personal workshop in a Valencia deck because finding it in your 50 card deck is such an unreliable task. So I do score the Astro, which is very good news. And here I make a huge mistake. I should have purged virus counters. It might seem pretty redundant to purge virus counters, given that he has a data sucker out, but that was definitely the right line of play. I really cannot afford to lose my toll booth. It's the only thing that's keeping my R&D safe. I should have realized that once my toll booth is gone, it only costs him 2 credits to break my Bastion with his knight. One of which is offset by Bad Pup, and the other of which is offset by Desperado. So he's essentially getting free medium runs right now. I should have purged virus counters. So huge mistake. This is going to cost me the game. Yep, so he continues digging up my R&D, and I can only sit and stare. There's absolutely nothing I can do at this point. So I'm just thinking of whether I should be raising my daily business show, which I installed last turn, which I gave up a turn of purging to do. Well, I chose not to raise the daily business show because it would only give him more cards to dig down with medium. I do find a piece of ice, thankfully. It's the troll, which will definitely go on R&D, and I'll just click for credits from there on. But he also knows that this is a troll, and he knows that it can be easily bypassed. All he has to do is to host a parasite on his personal workshop and run again. So, because it's the runner's turn, because there's a paid window before encountering, he gets to liberate his parasite. Oh no, yes. I should have raised the troll here. I forgot. You cannot use data sucker tokens until after encountering the troll, which meant that he still had to pay the troll toll. Of course, he would probably still pay the click here instead of ending the run. So that's, I definitely should have raised the troll here. I made a big mistake. I forgot that, he would still have to eat the encounter effect before he can use the data sucker. So here he gets to access 4 cards, 2 of which were agendas he needed to win the game. So that was that. So that was a very fail game on my part. But there were a couple of things that were missing from this game that I would really like to have shown you, but it just didn't come up. The first is Manhunt. That's the whole reason you play this deck in Making News instead of Near Earth Hub. Manhunt is so incredibly powerful. If I had drawn it earlier this game, the game would have been much more different because it would force him to play so much less aggressively. every time he tried to make a run, a dirty laundry on archives, maybe checking my HQ, blackmailing my remote, he would have to eat the manhunt trace, which almost certainly means clearing the tag. And just look at how few credits he had at the end of the game. There's no way he can afford to clear the tags. So manhunt is essentially the strongest form of defense I have, because if you think about it, most of the ice that I have is really, really weak. Tollbooth and Ichi are the only big ice, the rest are all so flimsy. That's the drawback of playing NBN. That's why most people don't play Glacier and NBN. But with Manhunt, things are suddenly very different. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to punish him with Manhunt for this game, and as such, my NBN credits were mostly useless. I hope to get another game of this in the near future with some tweaks to this deck. I definitely do think it has potential. I just need to familiarize myself with its intricacies. Don't forget that I can always put the pedal to the metal if I need to. If I'm playing against a slow deck such as Noise or Valencia, I can always attempt to Astro Train to victory instead. It's always an option. Thanks for watching and happy net running. Goodbye.